Could the Nikon Z8 be the ultimate hybrid camera? I think so, and in this review, I'm going to show you why. First of all, I want to say thank you to Nikon for generously sending me a Z8 to borrow for about 3 or 4 months at the beginning of this year. It was so much fun to play with, and I was so disappointed to have to send it back. But either way, you guys are going to get my full, unbiased review on the Nikon Z8. I just want to be fully transparent with this review before we got started. So let's talk a little bit about what makes the Nikon Z8 special. So right now, the Z8 is going for $34.99 USD, which I think is pretty reasonable for everything that you get when it comes to video and photo packed in such a compact camera body. The Nikon Z8 has a 45.7 megapixel stacked CMOS sensor, which is absolutely huge. I love that big full frame sensor and those super high resolution photos. It also has the X-Speed 7 processor, which is wicked fast. With the Z8, you can expect frame rates like 20 frames per second if you're shooting full resolution RAW plus JPEG, or up to 30 frames per second if you're just shooting JPEG, which is pretty darn fast, especially when it comes to fast action like sports. I shoot military action a lot, jets zipping by, so those fast frame rates are a lifesaver when it comes to capturing that decisive moment. I think it's also important to mention here, Nikon has a new high efficiency RAW file, which allows you to take RAW photos compressed, but they are 30% smaller, and those are pretty lossless from what I've seen. The Z8 has a 493-point phase detection autofocus system, and it is stellar. It is wicked fast. All of the autofocus tracking you can think of, face detect, eye detect, bird detect, animal detect. There are so many options and so many amazing features when it comes to the autofocus in the Z8. I was absolutely blown away. I think the autofocus is pretty darn good in my Z6, but the Z8 just blows everything that I've ever used out of the water, and in low light, it's great. And in almost every sort of condition, I put the Z8 to the test, and it just performed phenomenally every single time. You will be absolutely blown away by the autofocus performance of the Nikon Z8. We also have a fully electronic shutter in the Z8, no mechanical shutter anymore, and that electronic shutter has the ability to shoot at 1/32,000th of a second, and we can worry a little bit less about rolling shutter. There were some rolling shutter issues, for example, in the Z6, shot some football, had some massive rolling shutter issues with that electronic shutter, but they've really done a good job using the stacked sensor in the Z6 to really try and eliminate that rolling shutter issue when using your electronic shutter. And last but not least, for the photography specs, there is in-body vibration reduction up to 6 stops, which I think is fantastic. You can do a lot more handheld shooting with the Nikon Z8. So next, let's talk about one of my favorite aspects of the Z8. It is a hybrid camera. It does photo and it does video, and it does a damn good job at video. There are so many recording options when it comes to resolution, frame rate, and codec. The ability to do 422, we have N-Log, and we have raw video recording, which is 12-bit, which is fantastic when it comes to color grading. So what are the resolution and frame rate options when we talk about the Z8? One of the first that I want to highlight is we have internal 8K recording up to 60 frames per second, and we have 4K at up to 120 frames per second. Of course, we have Nikon's log color profile, which is N-Log. We have the option of 12-bit raw recording, which is, again, amazing. The amount of data you have for color grading is fantastic. We have 12-bit ProRes recording, HQ, and we have 10-bit ProRes 422 recording as well. So you just have a plethora of video recording options for just about any situation that you can think of. I make short films, and I love the versatility of the Nikon Z8. Whether I want to shoot massive 8K or slow-mo 120 frames per second in 4K, I am going to get beautiful footage regardless. So let's talk about the actual physical body of the Nikon Z8. I think it has some important new features and some that really excited me that I want to share with you guys. If you're thinking of potentially picking up a Nikon Z8, some of these can be a game changer. Of course, being one of Nikon's flagship cameras, the Z8 is weather sealed, so you can use it in just about any weather condition. The Z8 also has illuminated buttons, so when you're shooting astrophotography, light trails, anything like that at night, you no longer have to pull out your phone and try and see the buttons on the back of your camera. They are now illuminated, so no more flashlights ruining your shots. Buttons are illuminated on the Z8. The actual body of the Z8 is composed of magnesium alloy and carbon fiber, making it extremely strong and durable. And in addition to that, one of the soft spots of the Z8, again, is the sensor. So now we have a sensor shield that comes down when you have your camera off, you're changing lenses. You don't have to worry about something coming in like a speck of dust or sand or anything that's going to come in and damage your sensor when you're changing lenses. That is such a great feature. Again, one of the soft spots of every mirrorless camera. We no longer have that mirror to come down and protect our sensor. We now have a sensor shield in the Z8 that is such a fantastic addition and something we've been missing with most mirrorless cameras today. Lastly, we have two USB-C inputs into the Nikon Z8. One is for file transferring, the other is for charging, which I think is great, charge on the go. And we have two card slots, a CF Express, also an XQD, and the other slot is a SD card slot. And additionally, we have a full-size HDMI plug on the Z8. So with specs like that, the Z8 really sounds like the ultimate hybrid camera. Amazing photo quality, amazing video, and in such a compact body. It's not a huge brick. It's not overheating like Sony's and Canon's. Canon actually just released the R5 Mark II, and I still prefer the Z8 personally because the Z8 is quite a bit cheaper than the R5 Mark II. Again, whether you're a Canon fanboy, a Nikon fanboy, or anything in between, the decision is ultimately yours to make. I'm just here to inform you, show you some great quality photos and some great quality video that I was able to achieve with the Nikon Z8. Ultimately, cameras are just a tool, and it's up to you to pick the proper tool for the job. The Z8 is just the Swiss Army knife of tools or cameras, and potentially the ultimate camera right now. According to Nikon, the Z8 is the successor to the D850, which was a fantastic camera. I love the D850. I should do a review on that soon. However, the Z8 is a little bit smaller than its D850 older brother, who also had a full-frame 45 megapixel sensor, and it's also smaller than the Z9. The Z8 does not have that chunky battery grip built in. You can add your own battery grip, which I like, because then I have the ability to take that battery grip off of the Z8, which I can't do with the Z9, making the Z8 30% smaller than the Z9, and it's actually smaller and more compact than the D850. So we had two ultimate cameras, two flagships, the D850, the Z9, and now this flagship Z8 on the pedestal in between them, which takes the best of both worlds and combines them into a stellar little package. There's so much you can do with the Z8. It is for so many different audiences, whether you're a professional portrait photographer like I am, or you shoot short films like I do as well. There's so much you can do with this hybrid camera, and there are so many possibilities with the frame rates, the resolution, the frames per second frame rates when it comes to photo. There's just so much you can do with the Z8, and I highly recommend it. I really can't think of anything negative about the Z8. Now when we start adding higher frame rates, more bits to our video, higher resolution images, faster frames per second, Nikon also gives us the slightly more efficient EN-EL15C designated battery that should help with that battery life a little bit. But again, we have so much power, the Z8 will require some power from you. So keep your batteries charged, have extra batteries, have extra memory cards, and be prepared to have a lot of fun with the Nikon Z8. We are in a time where the only limit to creativity is you as a creator. Your camera should no longer hold you back, and there are no excuses to make amazing content, whether that's photo or video. So again, I highly recommend the Nikon Z8. I will have links down below in the description to where you can check out your own Nikon Z8, and those affiliate links do give me a tiny little percentage of commission at no cost to you, and that's how I run this channel. So thank you so much for using my affiliate links. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel down below if you enjoy my camera gear reviews. That's really all for this video. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop me a comment down below. What do you think about the Nikon Z8? And what do you think about the new Canon R5 Mark II that was actually just announced? They could be competitors, even though the Z8 is quite a bit cheaper. So that's all for this video, and until next time, get out and go shoot.